3 rounds to go in the 16 Street Racing League, and Tim Holgate is within touching distance of winning a championship for the first time in his 16 Street Racing League career. Coverage will start here on RaceSpotTV after these messages.
It's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Travis, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 in the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR iRacing.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Milwaukee, the oldest operating racetrack in the world, for coverage of the 16th Street Racing League. Those drivers will do 140 laps, 3 rounds remaining in the championship. Here are qualifying times as it stands right now. Tim Holgate is leading the way in qualifications. He can well become champion here today. There are a couple of things that need to get sorted out in the interim. However, a win for Tim Holgate will mean that Brendan Lichtenberg will have to finish inside of the top 4. Bonus points will have to come into play here there, as well as we've got ourselves one more road course after this one at Sonoma, and we've also then got ourselves the final of the triple round events, which of course affords double points to take place at the Auto Club Speedway. Winton along with Aaron Likens, Rachel Whiteford. As you can see there, the qualifying times. It is Tim Holgate from Matt Polensky, then it is Christopher Demerit, Brendan Lichtenberg, Rob Umlinks rounding out your top 5. A total of 19 drivers currently trying to set themselves qualifying time. Sarah Matinson is just completing a lap right now in the number 8 Banshee Autosport car as he works himself down the back straightaway towards turn number 3 and 4. Lap times here in the region of about 20.7 seconds in qualifications, and you'll see there that Terry Matinson come past start finish time. So qualifying lap for him, 21.413. He is down in the field, but he's got himself one more lap to go. We'll show you the qualifying, sorry, not the qualifying times, even the championship standings heading into this event in just a couple of moments' time, as Toby Simpson comes past start-finish line, improves slightly there, still sits in the 14th place overall in qualifying. Now, coming into today's event, as we talked about, Tim Holgate, 642 points. Brendan Lichtenberg, 132 points back with 510 points. Eric Davis, a further 10 points back. He technically is still in the championship hunt here, although he will need a lot of help from Tim Holgate if he is indeed going to end up getting that championship. Joe Branch is already out of it, as is Brandon Trost. He's in 5th place. Christopher Demerit is in 6th, with Umlinks in 7th. Vic Cordell, Randy Krosno, and Brian Karzeski running at your top 10. You notice there that Krosno and Karzeski tied for points in 9th for 303 points each. And, well, Aaron, 132 points is the difference. 50 points to win, of course, unless you're Auto Club Speedway, in which case you're going to get yourself 100 points for a win. There are also bonus points up for grabs, so in theory, this one can still go down to the last 2 rounds of the season. But Tim Holgate here today, what he does need to do is just finish this race and make sure that he doesn't even necessarily need to win it, he just doesn't do anything too stupid. And in fact, seeing as we've lost Aaron Likens, we will talk to Rachel Whiteford instead. Hi, Rachel.
Good evening, Will.
So, yeah, championship standings as they are. 132 points. Well, Tim Holgate doesn't need to win, but what he needs to do is just make sure he is close to Brendan Lichtenberg.
He does indeed, and Tim Holgate, of course, starting from the pole tonight, he's in a pretty good position. This track can be pretty tough. You do sometimes find people getting loose out of turn 4, and of course that wall is pretty close on the exit of turn 2. So, front of the pack gives you a lot of clean air. It's the best place to be.
Yep, so then let's have a look at your starting grid for tonight's event here on RaceSpotTV. And it will be starting this race on the pole position, that driver of Tim Holgate, who picks up another bonus point in the championship. Every point, of course, important at this stage of the season. 20.673, his qualifying time. Matt Polensky in 2nd place. Starting on the outside of row number 1, 53 1,000th of a second back. Then Christopher Demerit will be rolling off the field in 3rd place, with Brandon Trost in the 4th position. Then we head on back in the grid, and you will see then that it's Brendan Lichtenberg in P number 5. P6 will go to Rob Ungelinks, and then you have yourself Ellis Stevens on the inside of row number 4, with Joe Branch on the outside. Heading on back a little bit further, then you will see that it is Laura Bond on the inside of row number 5, and Martin Nagel-Kirken on the outside. Christian Steele inside row 6. Eric Davis on the outside. Chuck Eisenberg inside of row 7. Brian Karzeski on the outside. Terry Mattinson inside row 8. Randy Cosno on the outside of that 8th row. Then Christopher Block, Randy Freeman, P17 and 18. Dave Jinks, Vic Cordell rounding out your 21 car field here today. And Aaron, the Milwaukee Mile. It's a special track in its own way, as, of course, it is the world's oldest operating speedway.
Indeed, built back in 1903, paved in 1954. Lots of history here. Traditionally, up until about 5 years ago, the race was held immediately after the Indy 500. Dates have changed, but this track has seen many different forms of motorsport, whether it is the Indy cars or the late models. USAC, Silver Crown has ran here, so everything has ran here. And, well, another bit of history is going to be made here tonight with Tim Holgate potentially being the champion, but he'll have to not fall into the trap he fell into last week with pit strategy.
Yeah, and for Tim Holgate, he has been running the 16th Street Racing League since 2010, has yet to win a series championship. He potentially is just 140 laps away from changing that one forever. He rolls on the outside of that front row of the grid. As we can see then, just a look as the drivers work themselves on their solitary pace lap. It is that driver of Tim Holgate starting it on pole position here today. You can see your front couple of rows working themselves through the back straightaway. That pace car in just 30 seconds time will unleash these 20 cars for a total of 140 laps around this racetrack, which until 2010 had hosted a race every single year with the exclusion of the two World Wars. Here comes the pace car then, making that journey on towards pit road. It's a tricky pit road. We'll talk about it over the course of this event. But round number 17 of the 16 Street Racing League here on RaceSpotTV will start right now. Good start. As you can see, those cars come down in towards turn number 1. A little bit of side-by-side racing. Brandon Trost trying to get himself on the move there as he's working himself on the outside of that 144 car. Christopher Demerit as they work themselves down the back straightaway for the first time. And, well, it looks as though you've got most of your field through those first couple of corners without any real incident at all. Side-by-side racing here or there, but Aaron, everyone gets going. And you can see there, Peletsky's trying to battle for the race lead.
Yeah, Pavelski was on the inside at 3 and 4. This track is somewhat single group, but if you can hold the outside, you can get a big run off the corner. That's what we saw at the start, but we are clean through the first lap and a half. Lots of give and take so far. Let's hope that continues. Brandon Trost on the outside going for third, and it's very hard to pull off the outside pass, but he's trying to get around the outside of Christopher Demerit. Not happening that time, but he's still going to try to fend for it this time. Demerit runs a little bit wide and still side-by-side down the back. Yellow flag.
First caution of the day, and it's Dave Jinks involved in that one, as is Christopher Block there. You can see two drivers involved at the very early going. So our first caution coming early, Rachel, as Dave Jinks, well, his terrible luck in the season will continue once again.
It is indeed, Will. Christopher Block slow out of turn 2 there, slower than Dave Jinks was expecting. Jinks just collecting the back quarter of him, turning him around, and, well, might have got away with it until Christopher Block came backwards into Jinks. Jinks then getting air and hitting that catch fencing. Not a good start to this race for those two. They're out.
Yeah, as you can see then, having a look, we're on board with Dave Jinks in the number 76 car as he works himself through turn number 1. And apart from that, it was a very good start to this race from all these drivers. You can see that Dave Jinks just coming to the rear, and you can see those cars being flown inside to the safer barrier on the outside of the corner. Dave Jinks' race is done, as is that of Christopher Block. We'll take this opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to step aside for just one moment. We'll be right back after these messages.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Travis, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 in the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR iRacing.
Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen, to the Milwaukee Mile. A couple of drivers there, Aaron, coming onto pit road to just top up. We had Chuck Eisenberg, Randy Cosmo, Randy Freeman doing that one. Doesn't really cost you much if you're at the rear of the field like those guys.
Oh, absolutely. If you are at the rear of the field, nothing to lose. Even if you're going to lose one spot, you know, if we get a long green flag run and we get a yellow mid-cycle and you have those 2-3 extra laps, that can pay dividends. You can trap people a lap down. We saw that last week, and really, I'm surprised more people in the back didn't take the pits, even if it's 3 or 4 laps. That was the difference last week between being on the lead lap or Tim Holgate's just unfortunate battle, just could not get back on the lead lap. So smart call if you're in the back, and even coming to 1 to green, if you are the last car in line, you might as well come in and top off.
Interesting message there on the rear of the wing of Matt Peletsky. We'll just circle that one for you. and leave no comment about it at all. Just decided there that it would be seen. But Pilecki's currently scored in second place. He's been running very well on the oval races, especially over the last couple of weeks, as that number 75 car working itself in second place right now. Dave Jinks and Christopher Block still scored on pit road. A non-start there by Mike Tester as pace car lights are out. Getting back to go to green flag racing here at the Milwaukee Mile. Got yourself 17 drivers scored on the racetrack. Now, they were good on the start initially. Waiting now for Tim Holgate to see whether or not he will go early or will go late. Pace car going to come on towards pit road. Doesn't leave much time, of course, for Holgate, but the green flag back in the air. We're racing once again at the Milwaukee Wall. Cars come down in towards turn number 1. Keep an eye out. As we've seen, Brandon Tro's been very good on restarts all season long. And he has a bit of a slow one, actually, Rachel, as he's down in that 4th place right now. We do have a little bit of two-wide racing just behind, as Laura Bryan and Eric Davis, she had to take that back. It's Martin Nagel-Kirkin and Eric Davis going side by side into turn 3 and 4.
We do indeed, and of course Brandon Trosi still sticking with that lead pack. A bit of separation between himself and Brandon Lichtenberg there, Will. But we know Lichtenberg can come back later in a run. Looking back here, we've got Ellis Stevens as well. He's running pretty well. Good qualifying time from him with a 20.891. That's going to be an 8th place in the moment. He's 3 seconds behind the leaders. And, well, action is picking up already behind us. We've got some two-wide racing. Laura Bond, Christian Steele, Kozeski, and Mathinson all over each other, Will.
Yeah, as you can see there, your mid-pack is very, very close right now. So Ryder on board then with Christian Steele in the Go Daddy car, working themselves out of turn 3 and 4 once again. Well, down towards turn 3 and 4 once again. You can see Steele in that 12th place to get to the high side of Laura Bond, who's actually pushing up very wide, and that will cost them just a little bit. Now, tyre wear is going to be a critical part of this racing. Karzeski now looking down to the inside in that battle for what is turn number 13, 14 on the racetrack, and you can see 3 wide down the back straight away they come. Someone's got to give as they come down into 3 and 4, and, well, they all make it through without any incident. Good stuff there, Aaron.
Yeah, 3 wide, Milwaukee, same sentence, usually doesn't end well. They got away with one there. Cooler heads did prevail, as Randy Crosso now moving up through the field has picked off 2 spots in 2 laps. One thing to look out for, we say this at many tracks, if you are going to make a pass here, as Laura Bond is looking to the inside of Eric Davis, can't get it done, but we'll see what happens on the exit. Well, she might have a run, but if you attempt to make a pass and you fail, instead of gaining a position, you could lose 1 or more as Laura goes to the inside, slips up a little bit, and this is what I'm going to talk about as Christian Steele now goes around the outside. So, as I mentioned, it happened. If you're going to make a pass, you got to make sure it sticks, or instead of gaining one, you're going to lose a position.
Yeah, as you can see there, that's how spun around. Terry Mattinson taking out his own teammate. 4 cars involved there. So 5 cars involved. The number 17 car involved as well. Randy Freeman at the rear. That one, second caution of the day. And it is the big one involving Terry Mattinson, Chuck Eisenberg, Randy Freeman, Laura Bond, and Randy Cosno. Replay coming up. And that all happened because Mattinson just clipped the rear of Laura Bond as they worked themselves on the exit of turn number 3 and 4, Rachel.
Yeah, that was a big one indeed, Will. And as I said, exiting turn 4, it could be a tough one. That shallow line is pretty tricky, and we just saw there, Mathinson pushed wide, clipping the back of that number 32 car. Big problems there, and of course, drivers inside, drivers coming out of that turn 4. Nowhere to go, they can't avoid it, and, well, unfortunately, 4 or 5 race cars are written off, Will.
Yeah, and that is going to really change the dynamic of this race. A number of drivers involved in incidents in the early going. Get ourselves one more look at that. Pit road will be open this time by, as you can see there, Mattinson just coming up the racetrack, hitting the rear of Laura Bond's car, turning her around. And you can see there, Randy Cosno getting involved in the action as well. And the number 56 car does just sneak past it. But, well, you can see a lot of drivers struggling in the early going. Pit road is open, and we have ourselves a split strategy, ladies and gentlemen, as Rob Unglinks is on pit road, Ellis Stevens, Joe Branch, Christian Steele all making pit stops, but your front 8 drivers staying out, top 5 drivers staying out on the racetrack, Aaron.
Yep, split strategy, and that's what we saw at Iowa, and with this, well, depleted field now, I like the concept of coming into pit right now. Odds are with we've lost almost half the field in that wreck, about a fourth of the field gone. A long green flag run should be coming up, so make a note that the cars that have pitted are going to be able to do at least 16 laps longer than those that stayed out.
Yep, so then, ladies and gentlemen, your top 5 drivers have stayed out. Tim Holgate from Matt Pilecki, from Christopher DeMeritt, Brandon Choice, Brandon Lichtenberg. We'll be back in just one moment. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. There you can see your race leader, Tim Holgate. And, well, it's pretty much been this way for your top 4 all race long, Aaron. They decided not to pit. Well, if you're Lichtenberg, as far as the championship goes, you might think about doing the opposite of what Tim Holgate does. Because of the fact the point swing is so big right now, you kind of have to do something a little bit crazy.
Yeah, last week, Lichtenberg got on. He did the exact same thing Holgate did, which trapped both of them a lap down. In the interview, Lichtenberg said he didn't really have the speed, but at the same time, if you want to win the championship and you are a tick slower than your competition, you have to do the opposite. You have to take the gamble. And tonight, I like the gamble since Holgate and company, top 5, did not pit. This pit road, very tricky to spin on entry, which would bring out a yellow, and if that happens mid-cycle, you can get trapped 1 or 2 laps down.
Pace car going to make its journey down on towards pit road, then getting ourselves ready for a restart here as we ride along board with this driver of Matt Pilecki. Pace car coming on towards pit road. One more time, here we go.
Good start by Brandon Tross. May look down the inside for 3rd place by DeMeritt. DeMeritt's going to have to give way, so Will, you mentioned it, Brandon Tross has been really good at timing restarts, and once again, we've seen it here, but that inside line just doesn't have the speed on exit.
Yep, there you can see that down in towards turn number 3 and 4, Brandon Tross just getting enough momentum. He should be able to get clear, but you can see, will there be a crossover? Not quite. Brandon Tross having to hold that inside line down in towards turn number 1 and 2. But he now does get clear. And what that does is it allows Lichtenberg to close up to the rear now of Christopher DeMeritt in that battle for P number 4 and 5. Now, remember, Rachel, that Lichtenberg has to finish in the top 4 if Holgate wins. Otherwise, Holgate will be champion.
He does indeed, and currently running 5th. That is not good enough, Will. These guys probably will change position, though, of course. These 5 have, as we said, stayed out, so expect some cars from the back potentially to come forward and upset that balance, especially the likes of Martin Nagelkirk and Joe Branch and Rob Enderlinks. Those guys are pretty fast, and Eric Davis way out of position in 10th.
There you can see Randy Freeman is still circulating on the racetrack in 13th, even though he had himself a little bit of contact in that incident. He got himself a new front wing, is down on speed right now. However, is still going along. 13 drivers still running in this event. And Tim Holgate getting himself a bit of an advantage now. About 6 tenths of a second. Now, you break the draft at about 0.7 of a second, Aaron. But it's not always doom and gloom if you do end up losing that draft. Because, of course, you get, in return, clean air, which in long runs can mean quite a lot.
Absolutely. If you're within about 0.3 of a second or closer, the dirty air isn't as bad. If you're within that 0.3 to 0.6 range, it is truly a wall of air that your car's trying to fight. You get outside of that, you're going to have clean air, which is going to save the right front tire. So if you're better at tire management, you are going to be able to, throughout the run, eventually close the gap, because the speed differential with the tire is going to be better than what the dirty air is. So being about 6-7 tenths back can be a strategy play, because it's gonna not that right front. And once you cook the tires on the DW12, it is very hard to get back without making the change. So you really don't want to heat it up. So for Matt Pavelski right now, good position, and Brand Trust trying to close into second place, not really making any headway, but Tross right now, the first car we've seen in the top 5 be able to make a pass. Of course, it was on the restart. We've seen side by side, but completing the pass has been very difficult thus far in the first 25 laps.
Yeah, there you can see inside your top 5, only one change to the start of this race. Brandon Trost up 1 position. Christopher Demera is down 1 position, running himself in P number 4 right now. Martin Nagel-Kirken, though, is up 4th position. That was all down, though, Rachel, to the fact that a number of drivers came onto pit road. Nagel-Kirken deciding to stay out on the racetrack, splitting that strategy up among the Aero X Racing team drivers.
Yeah, he did indeed, Will, and possibly they're a bit of an experiment by those guys, of course. Multiple cars running this series, so they can afford to split strategy between the team cars and see what works. If this doesn't go so well on the first stint, they can change, but something seems to be a pretty good idea, then they can go for it. Right now he's running in 6th position, Will, and that's the highest of their team cars.
Now, last time by, Holgate did a 21.622 and Pavelski just a couple of hundredths slower, but that gap is stable right now in that battle for the race lead at about 0.5 of a second. All nice and calm here all of a sudden. Tim Holgate leading from Pavelski in, say, second place is Brandon Trost, about 4/10 of a second back. And pretty much equal gaps between P1 and 2 and P2 and 3, as well as P number 3 and 4. In fact, your closest action we got on the racetrack is down towards the rear of the field, with Christian Steele trying to close up to the rear of Eric Davis, and that is the battle for P number 9 and 10, 10 and 11 on the racetrack, actually, as Davis in turn is trying to catch up to the rear of Ellis Stevens, Aaron.
Yep, we're in 10th and 11th, which Eric Davis just about pulled the win out last weekend. A thrilling finale to the Iowa race last week, but right now, with these cars having pitted, there is no reason for them to really try to fight all that difficult. They are on a different strategy. They can go 16 laps longer than the cars up front, so right now it's about tire conservation and just trying to go through the motions to get through that first green flag pit stop to see where they are going to end up. And should the yellow come out at an opportune time, everybody that did make that pit stop is going to be very, very happy.
Yeah, there you're seeing then the drivers who have had pit stops. And we'll show you that graphic on the screen as well. Number of drivers have pitted in what is now a split strategy, and there you can see pit stop times. Your top 6 haven't pitted, then P7 on back have made 1 pit stop. Joe Branch, well, he won last week with this alternate strategy, Rachel, and he's looking to do the same here again. Now, as it will work out, they'll have themselves about 18, 19 laps worth of fuel more. The interesting thing is the drivers like Colgate, they will be on pit road if it stays green in the next 15 to 20 laps or so.
Absolutely will, and of course Joe Branch last week running with a very alternate strategy, and of course assisted by the fact we lost quite a few of the front runners, so he managed to come through and take advantage, which was brilliant drive. And today, of course, as you're right, the top 5 have to come in first. If one of them makes a mistake on pit entry, Will, that will absolutely destroy this race. Well, I rephrase that. It will completely invert the race and shake it up, because we could have the front 5 now laps down, and we could see people from Joe Branch onwards leading this race. And we know if they can get up there, they can stay there, because it's harder for the other guys to move through the field. This is definitely a race track position.
And Aaron, as far as pit road goes here, it's probably one of the most difficult pit roads in all of oval racing. Pit entry, you haven't got a pit entry lane, so to say. You've just got a gap in the wall after turn number 4. Coming back onto the racetrack, you have got to be careful. Put 2 wheels over that line on what is a very flat apron, and you are going to get yourself a stop and go penalty.
Yes, entry here very difficult, and watching warm up, a lot of cars were written off by hitting the big sand barrels at the end. You have to have your brake bias just right. You have to slow down out of 4 with the wheels straight. Very easy to speed here, very easy to hit the end of the wall here. So really 3, and you have to make sure nobody behind you, you get to the inside before you start slowing down, or you're going to get rear-ended. Which, speaking of split strategies, we've seen Brandon Trost almost be the gambler this season. Speeds are slowing down. We're now 0.2 of a second slower than we were at the start of this run, so Passing's very difficult here. I would not be surprised to see Brandon Trost pit 5-10 laps sooner before the fuel to get that speed gain with the tires. We saw him pull that off at a track that I can't remember where that was. We saw Brandon Trost do that. Yes, New Hampshire, thank you. So we'll see if he does that. I think he's probably right now, I think he could be the quickest car of the top 3, but just can't do anything in that air. And if that's the case, you got to do something different. If you just follow suit, you're going to go nowhere.
And of course, 2 tenths per second a lap, that will mean in a space of about 4 laps, depending on in-laps of course, you could potentially get yourself from 3rd place up to 1st, and so on and so forth. But we'll get leads right now from Pulaski, from Trost, from Demerit, from Lichtenberg. We'll step aside for just one moment. You won't miss a thing though. We'll take you side by side.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.
There you can see on RaceSpotTV side by side your first driver to come onto pit road, Matt Pulaski there, and you be careful of that white line when you come back onto the racetrack. Well, his first sequence of pit stops is complete. Pit stop time for him, 8.3 seconds. So he's the first to blink, which is, well, a little bit surprising, Aaron, because we normally expect it to be Brandon Trost. What we will see, though, over the next couple of laps is whether or not he can use that to his advantage, because these other guys only a couple of laps away from making their first journey on towards pit road.
Yeah, the good thing for Pavelski, came out with clean track. He has the lap car, Randy Freeman, in front of him, who's probably not going to give him any issues. So for Pavelski, came out in a perfect situation, which that's what you want to utilize to get the maximum part of pitting early. You got to have clean track, and that's what he what he has. Holgate speed has picked up a little bit. So perhaps there was fuel saving, perhaps it's just the car getting lighter, but now we're seeing a 10th quicker as he is aware that Pavelski has come in, and now at 21.5. Last time we were looking at times, they were running 0.7, so Holgate has kicked it up knowing that Pavelski is on the split strategy within the midst of various split strategies that we have.
Yes, but that last time by, he did Pavelski a 21.371, 2 tenths of a second faster, as Holgate is now on towards pit road. He does respond. There you can see him making that journey on towards pit road. So, fuel expiring now for Tim Holgate, Rachel, into his pit box. In lap time for him, 28.695, making his first stop of the day.
Yeah, good in lap there for him. Well, getting that service completed, 4 tyres and race fuel, he will be out and away. Pretty short order as he leaves pit road now. Tim Holgate, always pretty good getting on off pit road, but of course we are still seeing Brendan Trost running on the track. Demerit's also come in, as is Lichtenberg, reacting to what Demerit did well.
Oh, and you can see there that Holgate losing that position, so just a couple of laps made the difference as Tim Holgate didn't quite realise how close it was going to be, as Brandon Trost now makes that journey on towards pit road himself. And Martin Nagel-Kirken is on pit road as well, making his first scheduled service of the day. They can see Nagel-Kirken back out and away in 9 seconds. Brandon Trost then onto pit road. The in-lap there, 28.2 for Brandon Trost, and he almost hits the wall on entry. You're going to have to see arcing that car to the right as he comes back out onto the racetrack now. You will probably expect to see Brandon Trost lose out here by going a little bit longer, Aaron. You can see Pavelski is going to go past as they work themselves out of their turn number 2. And actually, no, Trost looking as though he might just about get it. Incredible stuff.
Incredible. He has to get through these turns with old tires, but now the dirty air is on Pavelski's front wing, so Brandon Trost, going the latest, is going to win out and take this race lead. Incredible.
And that, in part, came due to what was a rather good in-lap there for Brandon Trost, 28.2. So, as it stands, it is Joe Branch leading the way, and this is that split strategy coming into play once again. But, Aaron, no one in that first sequence of cars had themselves any issues on pit road, and now it is Joe Branch leading from Rob Ungerlinks, and then third place is Eric Stevens, fourth place is Eric Davis, then Brian Karzeski rounding out your top 5. Brandon Trost, the first of the drivers to have pitted under green.
Yes, and the key thing here is the drivers that stayed out, the top 5 previous of Trost, Pavelski, Holgate, Demerit, Lichtenberg, they are all on the lead lap, so should the yellow come out now, that split strategy that Branch and company did would not be fulfilled to its fullest because the other cars are in the lead lap, so they would inherit the lead, whereas if they were a lap down, they would have to take the wave around and start at the tail end of the lead lap. But that's not to be, so that strategy to really work, you got to get those cars a lap down, and that did not happen.
Yeah, there you can see then that Brandon Trost scored it in P6, captured himself in the race leader. Just 15.1 seconds right now as we're working ourselves on lap number 61 out of 140. So it's Brandon Trost who's actually pulling away. The gap between himself and Pavelski now, 1.2 seconds. Now that is one of the biggest gaps that we have seen. Brandon Trost just flooring that throttle right now. He knows that this is his chance to get away because Joe Branch and company will be on pit road in the next 10 laps or so, Rachel.
Yes, they will indeed. And of course, their tyres, of course, come on, just after that lap 16 caution wheel, so they can run deeper. But as we've seen, fresh rubber now on these leaders versus the older tyres that we're seeing on the pack that pitted means that they probably might actually fall a lap down themselves before this is complete.
Yeah, here's an interesting point. Ellis Stevens in that middle part of the pack, and actually he's coming under pressure from Eric Davis. 21.9 last time by Brandon Trost, a 21.4. That is half a second faster right now, Aaron. That means that your leaders are running at an incredible pace as Davis is closing up to the rear of Ellis Stevens, and the battle for is currently P at number 3 and 4.
Yeah, Stevens at last lap 22.2, so Brandon Trost that time at 21.4, 8 tenths of a second, and at that gap, it's only going to take about 27, 28 laps to go a lap down as Rob Ungerlinks comes in, and he too just about hits the barrels at the end of pit road. Close call there. Lots of drivers have been flirting with those barrels, which If you do flirt with them and you get too close, it does not end well, but Ungelneek's nicely into his box. But these drivers that are on the split strategy, I think they have to come in and ditch that strategy. The speed differential is too great.
Of course, they will get a little bit back later on. That's one to bear in mind. And you've got to have some of these strategists here doing the math to see which is the better option. As Joe Branch now brings his car onto pit road. And so he's now in from what was the race lead. He's had a total of 9 laps here today. Number 56 car, Brian Karzeski, on pit road as well. Joe Branch getting that cycles complete in 9.5 seconds. Back out and away for Brian Karzeski. 9.2 second stop as he comes back out onto the racetrack. And now you can see Ellis Stevens on pit road, as is Eric Davis. Stevens will be officially classified as leading 2 laps in today's race. Coming down into his pit box, Eric Davis just a couple of tenths of a second back, and these drivers coming in at the conclusion of lap number 67. Here's the thing though, all these drivers having to make probably at least 2 more pit stops in today's event. The drivers who've just come onto pit road now, Aaron, likely to only have to do a splash and dash towards the end.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and the speed differential though, if you were to start saving fuel, oh man, as fast as Brandon Trost is running, if you run half a second slower, even if you make one less stop, it's going to be the same or even more amount of time, because it's just the speed differentials are too great, and the gain you would make by making that one less stop is going to be negated if you're running half a second or more slower a lap.
There you can see the gap between second place to first, now up to 2.2 seconds. Brandon Trost is the fastest driver on the racetrack right now. Led himself a total of 5 laps. But Rachel, he got that lead through pit stops and kind of surprised a number of people. Ever since then, he has just been on fire. Although his fastest lap of the race is only, get this, 3rd. But the top 3 drivers separated by less than half a tenth of a second as far as that fastest lap of the race goes.
Yeah, absolutely correct, Will. We have said already, track position here is critical. Brandon Trost, he went in last, of course, of those 3 leaders. He came out first. Of course, that meant he was running with lighter fuel and able to just make the adjustments to the car in the race. It allowed him just to eke out a few extra laps when the fuel was lightest, when the car was quickest. Tyres weren't the best, but you can adjust for that. And that seems to have been paying off for him so far. It's got him in a good position. But of course, Brandon Lichtenberg, master of fuel saving, he can do something here. He just has to get up and into that 3rd position, and he can have this, Will.
Yeah, and you can see there, Lichtenberg currently scored in P5. As it stands right now, Aaron, the championship will roll on to at least Sonoma. And, well, we know about Sonoma as well. It's a track that both Lichtenberg and also Tim Holgate are good at. Lichtenberg has always been good on the road courses. Holgate has his races that he's good at, with the exception of Barber, of course, on the road courses. So this one, if it goes past here, you could almost conceivably say it might well go down to the final round of the championship. Lichtenberg is staying in it right now.
Yes, he is, and currently Holgate is gonna have to be a little bit wary, a little bit hesitant at the moment with the dirty air he is experiencing. You mentioned the tire differential. That's what we're seeing as Brian Karzeski is being able to hold off Matt Pavelski. Matt Pavelski can't get anywhere near the rear of Brian Karzeski, and what that's also doing is moving Holgate further and further behind from Brandon Trost. And speaking of Brandon Trost, he is in lap traffic now. He just put Christian Steele a lap down because Eric Davis, Ellis Stevens, and Joe Branch and Rob Ungelneeks and Nagelkirchen all within the same straightaway. So for Trost right now, once again, his car is going to be in dirty air.
Yeah, so you can see last time by a 22.0 there for Brandon Trost. For the first time in a while, that meant that Pavelski could close that gap down as, well, it's that time, Rachel, to talk about the anti-roll bars and the weight jackers. We haven't done it so far, but we're now into the second half of these races. These drivers have got the anti-roll bars and also the weight jacket, which they can utilize. And this is one of those tracks where you've got to use all 3, the weight jacket and the anti-roll bars, both the front and the rear, to kind of get a balance over the course of a run. If you're Brandon Trost getting yourself into dirty air right now, how to play about, but then make sure you reset it once you end up back into clean air.
Absolutely, Will. And of course, you've got your anti-roll bars, which are more useful for tuning the car to tyre wear, whereas your weight jacket is much quicker to operate, and you can use that for actually dealing with the car in dirty air. So that slave cylinder on the right rear tyre can push the back up and down, Will. That gives the drivers a little bit more oversteer, a little bit less more understeer as they need it to cope with that air. That's the biggest tool in their toolbox. As we see there, Christopher Demerit making a move on Tim Holgate, Will.
Yeah, but you can see down to the inside as they come down in towards turn number 1 and 2. And they're going to be side by side through the corner, but Demerit getting himself past, and also Lichtenberg right behind as well. He will look down to the inside as they come in towards 3 and 4. Holgate then trying to hold it on the outside line and almost making contact with Demerit as they work themselves out of turn number 4. But they will go and fight on for another corner. Well, Holgate is struggling in dirty air, Aaron.
Yes, he is. He led early, but ever since he's been mired behind people, he has just been falling. And at the rate we're going, Lichtenberg, we'll see how good his car is in dirty air. Will he be able to do it? You know he wants that position badly. Every position he can get in front of Holgate is important, but it starts with him having to make the pass of Holgate. And these laps are clicking off really quickly now. We are now on lap 81, so this race quickly moving along. And Demerit, though, Demerit has found another gear. He's coming up to the back of Matt Pavelski. So Demerit and Pavelski's coming in.
Yep, so here you can see then, he was the first one towards pit road last time by sliding into his pit box there, as he's going to be out of the race by the looks of it. So we'll get a look at see whether or not he hit the wall or anything, but Matt Pavelski is out of the race. Now here's a little bit of a change of events. We'll have a look, see if anything happened to him. Just having a look at his onboard as he works himself on a lap here, but he is going to have to get himself a tow back to his pit box. Let's have a look as he works himself through turn number 2. No issues there. So we'll keep an eye out on him as he works himself down in towards 3 and 4. No issues. And then he comes onto pit road, coming down the gear. So he is coming onto pit road, sliding that car and doesn't hit anything, but then just pulls that car off, and he is classified as out of the event for the time being. Brandon Trost with a 5-second advantage right now over Christopher Demerit. Tim Holgate in 3rd, Brendan Lichtenberg in 4th, Martin Nagel-Kirkin rounding out your top 5. Another round of pit stops is imminent, but will be, as you see, Brandon Trost bringing that car on towards pit road. He was last in last time by Rachel. He's first in this time.
Yes, indeed. He's jumping early, Will. He might have changed his strategy considering Pavelski's just dropped out. So, potential shift there these guys are going to have to be aware of. Very dangerous position there, of course, there for Christopher Demerit, Will. He was right down on that yellow curbing on the apex of turn 2. Very difficult place to be on the racetrack and very slippery part. Tim Holgate, though, catching Demerit at this time. Lichtenberg, though, his job has just become a lot easier. Pavelski taking up a position ahead of him has just freed him up now. He only needs one position, and this is his championship.
There you can see working themselves down into 3 and 4 once again. Brandon Trost now down into 10th place, and you can see out front it is Christopher Demerit who now inherits the lead of this race. He is our 3rd different leader, 4th, 5th different leader actually here today, as you see the gap between Demerit and Lichtenberg as he goes down to the inside, and it's going to be Lichtenberg with the momentum down the back straight away they come, and you see Lichtenberg not quite able to complete that pass, Aaron.
Couldn't get it done, and this has been brewing for about 2 laps as Lichtenberg now has to get way out of the gas, got into essentially the wake of Tim Holgate's car, got pushed out. That was his chance. He was able to use, that was a 3 laps of work wasted as Karzeski. He used that car to really get up to the rear wing of Holgate. So now for Lichtenberg, I think his best bet is to get a very good in-lap, and for Holgate, I think he can be a little bit conservative. He can let Lichtenberg beat him by 1 position. That's okay for the championship. What Holgate can't do is suffer a speeding penalty.
Yeah, as you can see, Holgate in 2nd. 3rd place is Brendan Lichtenberg. To give you an update on the tyres, Brandon Trost 21.5 last time by 21.5 for Demerit and also Holgate. So it is a strategy that is playing out now as we work ourselves. 50 laps to go here in the 16th Street Racing League event from the Milwaukee Mile. Rest, Rachel.
Very close there. Tim Holgate having to wrestle that car away from the wall as he tracked out from turn 2. Very, very nearly slapped that sidewall.
As he's still running in that 2nd place, and that last time by 21.598. Those times are comparable to what Brandon Trost is doing those last couple of laps, and part of the reason for that one is that Trost is in some serious traffic right up behind that number 28 car of Joe Branch as they work themselves down towards turn number 1 and 2 once again. Trost at 22.0, he's looking down to the inside, he has to, at this stage. Just try and force his way through. He does complete that pass. He's worked himself down the back straight still side by side. He's worked himself down in towards turn number 3 and 4. Brandon Trost now up into a little bit clean air, but here's the thing, he's come out into an absolute ton of traffic once again, and this is allowing Demerit to get back into play right now. And here you can see Demerit, though, does have to deal with that traffic himself this time by around, Aaron.
Yes, he does, but for that strategy, pitting early to work, he needed clean track, and he has not had it. He's been in traffic ever since he's came out of the pits, which is doing two things. One, it's slowing him down. Two, it's making him use that right front tire even more. So when Demerit makes his stop, his tires are going to be very, very much faster. As Trost now looking on the outside of Eric Davis, this is slowing him down even more, and for Trost, he has to be careful as he tries to complete that outside pass, because when you're running around cars that are a half second slower, it is very easy to just run over the top of them, and Eric Davis not making it easy on Trost.
Yeah, as you can see there, stay side by side, coming out the corner, down towards turn 3 and 4. Trost not able to complete that pass. Last time by, he did a 21.920 as he's still stuck behind Eric Davis here. And if you demerit, you can see all of this occurring on the racetrack. You will wait until Brandon Trost can get through this traffic before you even think about coming onto pit road, surely. Although I say that, Demerit is on towards pit road. So, well, no one ever listened to a word I say. As here comes Swift Demerit then. The 144 car in to make another pit stop here. Only his second stop of the day here as he works himself onto pit road. You can see that the stricken car for Lelsky, after making himself a toe, is still sat on pit road. 8.6 seconds. Back out and away. Let's see where when Brandon Trost is on the racetrack, he is actually already way ahead. So there you can see Christopher Demerit back out in 10th place for the time being in that number 144 car. That means that once again, Tim Holgate is leading this race by about half a second right now from that driver of Brendan Lichtenberg. If you're Lichtenberg, you think about coming in a lap or so early right now, Rachel.
You do indeed, and you're going to have to really start shaking this up. Guys are running way too fast on a track that's way too difficult to pass people at, and you have to do it on fuel well. You have to do it in the pit lane. And we saw Brandon Trost do exactly that. He has to make a move now. These guys, if they want to make up those positions, have to do something important. And everyone's sitting in dirty air. Time to head to pit road, get out of that dirty air, and make something happen.
Although, don't forget, Brandon Trost actually does gain overall over Demerit. As we're keeping an eye out here, you can see Tim Holgate working himself through turn number 3 and 4 as they come down to complete their 99th tour around this Milwaukee mile. Just got themselves now 41 miles of racing to go down in towards 1 and 2 once again, and it does look as though it is going to be a very interesting race between Holgate and Lichtenberg. The championship as it stands will go to Sonoma's. Here you can see then Trost is now past Rob Ungerlinks, but still trying to get himself past. Let's see, Ungerlinks trying to go side by side right now with Eric Davis. They work themselves through turn number 1 and 2. And it's Ungerlinks who comes out, and you can see number 17 car as well. Randy Freeman just having completed a service, coming back out onto the racetrack, working himself through turn number 3 and 4. But for Lichtenberg, as it stands right now, as Holgate comes on towards pit road this time by. So Holgate is the first to blink of those two drivers. He comes in to make what very well could be his final stop of the day, Aaron.
Yes, final stop, and for Holgate, well, I'm amazed Trost was able to pull so much time away from Demerit. Let's see where Holgate comes out nicely into his box as he waits and waits. These seconds seem to take so long, and out and away he goes. Let's see where he blends out.
Yeah, there you can see Holgate then currently scored in a net 10th position as he comes back out onto the racing service. They are running too wide, almost ahead of him. As you can see there, Demerit battling right now with Joe Branch, battle for position, and you've got Brendan Lichtenberg coming on towards pit road this time by. So Lichtenberg only able to go 1 lap longer, Rachel, as he brings his car onto pit road.
He does indeed. Well, it's time to get that car serviced and get fuel. Got some very heavy traffic there on the backstretch. Well, nearly 2.5 wide. I say half because he was half alongside him, but as you say, Demerit gets past that lap traffic there. That is Randy Freeman there, and he's just picking his way very carefully, but that guy is so fast, Will.
Here you can see Lichtenberg back out onto the racetrack, and Holgate has already gone past, and that 1 lap makes a big difference for Brendan Lichtenberg as he comes back out onto the racetrack. He is about 2 seconds back actually from the rear of Tim Holgate by the looks of it. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll step aside for just one moment. We'll be back after these messages, but we will take you side by side. We'll be right back.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com has officially begun. It's all in control of Brad Davies in that 11 machine. Green flag flies. He's damn near banged up though. Now the 93 is going to push the 4 of Brian Day all the way up the wall. 4 wide down the super stretch point in the turn. And now the 93-39, the 3 machine goes around. Big trouble in the back. It's the race for the win up front.
Look behind him. They're 3 and 4 wide, trying to make a push to the front as the field gains speed in turn number 1. Kenny Humphrey, if he can rip it back to the start-finish line, will win here at Daytona.
7 laps to go.
Oh,
As you
Brad
love it.
Davies, here we go.
You love it. The 0-1 gets around. The 5 gets around. Big choke for first place.
30 laps to go here in the 17th round of the 18th round of the 16th Street Racing League, and here you can see Brandon Trost leading the way right now. Potentially though, he might have to make himself another pit stop. Ellis Stevens in second, Eric Davis in the third position, as Tim Holgate is behind Christopher Demerit, Rachel, in what is a battle for P number 4 and 5. And well, Holgate does look to be a little bit slow actually, as Rob Ungerlinks is just coming out of pit road, and pit time for him is a 7.4 second stop.
Well, you're right to suspect, Will, because I've just been doing the math, and Brandon Trost, of course, did pit a few laps ago. In fact, to my last recollection, he pitted on his lap number 85, so he will definitely have to stop. His last 2 cycles have been 28 laps on his tank, so he's running fuel mixture 1, Will. The likes of, however, Tim Holgate, and this is the reason perhaps Trost passed him in the pit cycle. Tim Holgate is doing 46.
Yeah, as there you can see, Tim Holgate currently scored in 5th place, but the gap to the race lead is just 5.7 seconds right now. Well, this could be an interesting fuel battle towards the end of this event. We know that Trost likes to be aggressive on his fuel strategy, as Eric Davis making himself what will actually be his last pit stop of the day now, Aaron.
Yeah, he likes to be aggressive, but right now, I don't understand what that strategy. I know he did short fuel, so that could be why he has such a big lead and was able to pull out so much. But if that is the case right now, it's 2.4 seconds to Ellis Stevens, which I think his pit strategy, he was one of the cars that pitted, so he can go 16 laps longer than what Holgate did, which if both Trost and Stevens can't make it, Stevens is in the pit, so that answers that question. But if Trost can't make it, the current battle between Demerit and Holgate is the battle for the lead.
Yeah, as you can see there, Martin Nagel-Kirkin battle is in 4th position. As you can see, Lichtenberg looking down to the inside to put Nagel-Kirkin a lap down in this respective battle. Out of corner number 4 they come once again, and Ellis Stevens coming back onto the racetrack then after making his service, and he is currently scored in what will be a net 6th place, although he's going to come under pressure from Rob Ungerlinks, who's just behind him on the racetrack. Ellis Stevens currently scored in P number 6. Brandon Trost then leads, counting down the lap, 22.5 miles of racing left to go here, Rachel. As well, for Trost, he's going to have to hope that Holgate can't make it on fuel, or Demerit can't make it on fuel.
Well, that's not looking exactly likely, Will. Of course, Holgate, we know, has been running pretty long fuel stints, so he could definitely do it, as it looks. I mean, Holgate came in only a few laps ago now, so he is potentially good for 20. But if he saves fuel, we know he will make it. Trost, we think, will definitely have to pit. It's whether the others have to as well is the key.
Yep, as you can see then, Tim Holgate 5.7 seconds behind your race leader, down 2 positions from where he started. He did, of course, get bonus point for starting on pole position. His championship rival, there you can see him, Brendan Lichtenberg, is just 5 seconds down. Is that 5 seconds down on the racetrack? Indeed, yes it is. 5 seconds back on the racetrack, and as it stands, Aaron, we will see this battle head over to Sonoma in 1 week's time.
Yes, and what pans out there, we may see it go all the way down to the wire at Auto Club with double points, which will make it very, very interesting and up the intensity. But Sonoma is a track that can be very difficult. It can catch you out very, very quickly. So for both drivers, I'm sure Holgate would rather clinch it here tonight, because Sonoma is a track that if you apply the power down just a little bit too hard on some of those elevation chances, even if you're a super great driver, I think Young O made a uncharacteristic mistake there 3 seasons ago, if I'm not mistaken. So even the best at Sonoma can get caught out in a heart.
Well, here is one option for Holgate. If he can get himself past Christopher Demeritte in the remaining laps of this event, he will be potentially into a net first, and Brendan Lichtenberg will be in a net third position. That will mean that there's only a couple of points separating them, and then all Holgate really needs to do is make sure he doesn't crash at Auto Club, make sure he doesn't crash at Sonoma. The championship will be his. At the moment, there is still that outside shot for Lichtenberg. Holgate very close to the wall there on the exit of turn number 4. He was close. We're going to get ourselves another look at that one out of 4 there, Aaron.
Oh, that was very close. He did miss it, but not only did he miss it with the front, but as hard as he cranked the wheel, he very nearly hit it with the right rear as well. So a very close moment, as we were saying, don't wreck it. He just about found the wall out of 4. Yeah, it was pretty much inches between himself and that safer barrier on the outside. As Brandon Trost is onto pit road, Rachel.
He is indeed. We knew he'd have to come in, Will, so this is definitely his pit cycle. It now depends on whether the others have to come in. They could theoretically run themselves down to a lower fuel mix mode and run this one to the end. A little bit of competition between those two. If they finish in the positions they are, it'll still go to the next round.
Yeah, as here you can see then, just 15 laps of this event to go. Brandon Trost back out, and he's actually only down in P number 4 right now. And you can see he's just ahead of Christopher Demeritte, so he does not go a lap down in case we get ourselves a last moment caution. And of course we'll be able to now kind of back Demeritte up a little bit into Tim Holgate, because Trost will be on faster tyres. There you can see your race leader, it is Christopher Demeritte. We're down now to 14 laps to go in this event, Rachel. Although Holgate has slowed it down these last couple of laps, he is currently 1.3 seconds from the rear of Demeritte. And, well, Brendan Lichtenberg is closed up now by about half a second in the last 5 laps or so.
He has indeed, Will, and it's going to make this finish really interesting. Of course, those guys who are running on lower fuel mode do take into account, though, they are on very old tyres. The chance of them running wide and high is very, very, very high. Pardon the pun. But these guys have to be very careful now, because they could cause their own caution.
Yep, and here you can see then Tim Holgate currently in a net second place. Brandon Trost, well, he is only 20 seconds, I say only 20 seconds, behind your overall race leader. Although last time by 21.3, and it's a 21.7 last time by for Christopher Demeritte. As you can see then, coming down to what will be 11 laps of this event to go. Holgate in second, Demeritte in first, Lichtenberg in the third position, as Holgate having to get himself past slow traffic of Randy Freeman. We have ourselves 12 drivers circulating on the racetrack. Got ourselves a little bit of battle between Stevens and Eric Davis right now. There you can see it. Battle for P number 5 and 6 on the racetrack. As well, Demeritte does continue to stay out. Down to 10 laps to go in this event. And if you're any one of these fuel people, Aaron, you are just tapping that dial, hoping to make sure it can get to the end of this race.
Yes, the opening stint saw Brandon Trost do 56 laps. That included 2 cautions. Demeritte came in, I think, around lap 96. So that is only 44 laps. They can do 50. So I think they are going to be in the good.
As you can see there, Holgate still in that second position. The gap out front, though, is 1.6 seconds. And one thing I did say, Rachel, at the start of this broadcast, if you're Holgate, you don't need to win this race. What you do need to do is make sure that you finish as high as you can and not make any stupid mistakes.
Absolutely will, and it's down 2 points. They possibly don't think they're going to win this one, and Lynchburg certainly will not clinch it here. But they just need those points, they need a good finish, and they need to keep themselves where they are.
Yeah, so you can see now ticking down those laps, traffic coming into play once again. As you can see, Demerit, no issues right now. He has got himself a clear racetrack. It's Ellis Stevens who is in a very big bunch of traffic, which actually is holding up Brendan Lichtenberg as well, as we're riding on board with Brendan Lichtenberg. As you can see, working himself now, exit of turn number 2, got cars all around him. That is the number 56 car of Brian Karzeski. Got himself Rob Ungerlings and also Randy Freeman. As you see there, Karzeski allowing Lichtenberg to go past. Now that gap up in a couple of laps though, so 4.5 seconds between himself and Tim Holgate, down to 5.5 miles to go in this race, and no sign at all of Christopher Demerit coming onto pit road. 5 laps to go, Aaron, and another big wiggle for Holgate.
For Holgate now, I think there's no point right now. Drivers want to win the race right now. Holgate just needs to finish this race. He's ahead of Lichtenberg. It will be a net gain on the evening. Don't risk it. Don't put it in the wall. Stay far away from the wall as he comes out yet again. We're on lap 137. Just bring it home. Don't risk anything. Don't touch the curb too aggressively. Don't wiggle. Plenty of space. There's no reason to risk this.
A caution now would end it as Christopher Demerit starts his 138th lap around this racetrack. Gap between himself and Tim Holgate is 1.8 seconds last time by, 21.5 for Demerit, a 21.6 for Tim Holgate, 21.5 for Brendan Lichtenberg, and a 21.3 for Brandon Trost. For Brandon Trost, it looks as though his diverse strategy calls are going to catch him out here. 2 laps to go. Still no sign of Demerit on towards pit road or Holgate. And now they've got themselves just 2 laps to go in today's event. Holgate looks as though he's given up the ghost for the time being. His last lap time just about a 10th of a second slower than Demerit, staying further and further away from the safer barrier that lines the outside of this racetrack. As they come down out of corner number 4, Christopher Demerit will see the white flag this time by 1 more lap to go of the Milwaukee event here in the 16th Street Racing League. And 3rd place will be Brendan Lichtenberg as they come down to take the white flag. 4th place is Brandon Trost. As for Christopher Demerit, all he needs to do now is work himself through corner number 3 and 4, and he will claim himself a victory in the 16th Street Racing League. He comes out and he does just that. Christopher Demerit wins here at Milwaukee. Tim Holgate will come home in 2nd. Brendan Lichtenberg coming across the line now. He will claim 3rd place. Brandon Trost will claim a net P4 as he works himself out of corner number 4 right now. And his strategy call did not work, but the championship rolls on, Aaron, to Sonoma. Tim Holgate finishing 1 place ahead of Brendan Lichtenberg. He's within touching distance. Still has a bit more work to do.
Yes, he does. And for Lichtenberg, if you can't beat Holgate, just be 1 position behind him. So minimize the loss there. And at the end of this race, I think the thing we're going to look back on is the strategy of Trost. I have to think he thought there would be a yellow somewhere in the end stages. And, well, we only had 2 yellows. And after that second one, we were green to the end as Demerit now does donuts on this front straightaway.
Yeah, so there you can see then Christopher Demerit doing the Polish victory lap now in the number 144 car. And to run through your final race results here, it was Christopher Demerit claiming victory by just under 2 seconds from Tim Holgate, Brendan Lichtenberg in 3rd, Brandon Trost in 4th, Eric Davis 5th, Ellis Stevens, Rob Ungerlings, Martin Egelkirchen, Christopher Steele, and Joe Branch rounding out your top 10. And there you can see Brian Karzeski in 11th, Randy Freeman 12th, Matt Polowski 13th, Terry Mattinson, Randy Cosno, Chuck Eisenberg, Laura Bond, Christopher Block, Dave Jinks, Rick Cordell running out your field here today. We're going to step aside for just 1 moment, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back after these messages. You are watching RaceSpotTV.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Greg, he wins his first NASCAR iRacing World.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to RaceSpotTV for the 16th Street Racing League from the Milwaukee Mile, where Christopher Demerit claims victory from Tim Holgate. He is here, and he stood by with Miss Rachel Whiteford.
Hi, who am I talking to?
You're a race winner.
I am indeed, and I'm stood here with our race winner, and that is, I believe, Christopher Demerit. Christopher, hi.
Hello.
Hi, Chris. So, you one of the few drivers who made quite a lot of moves in this race. Of course, you started back in 3rd position. Tell me about your race.
If I knew if I was gonna gain positions, it was gonna be due to pit stops. That was the main idea. It's so hard to pass here without any sort of fresh tires that after the first 2 laps you're kind of set in stone of where your position is, and it just came down to pit stop timing, and I got it right, I guess.
You definitely had a very fast race car tonight. Obviously, you were up there competing with the likes of Tim Holgate, Brendan Lichtenberg, and Brandon Trost. They didn't seem to have anything for you there at the end. How were you on fuel?
I had about, I don't know, a gallon or 2 gallons left. I had enough for a few more laps. But I don't know if Tim had anything for me. I had a gap on him during that last stint, and I was just making sure he was in my mirror. I wasn't looking at the split times too much. I was more focusing on Brandon and see if he would, in fact, make it on that fuel mileage or not.
Indeed. Well, Christopher Demerit, well, he comes home our race winner today.
Of Sonoma in 1 week's time, you are clearly getting yourself close to your first ever 16th championship.
Yeah, we're definitely finishing out the year strong. If we keep getting podium finishes, you know, it should be pretty easy to lock this thing up, I think, next week. But you know, we're just gonna have to keep plugging at it. We're here to make wins.
Well, and I say, now we head ourselves to a road course once again, the final road course of the season. You've been pretty good on the road courses, if we take away Barber Motorsports Park the last 2 years. But can you do it?
Do you remember where I finished at Barber that race? Because you guys call me out on that all the time.
I don't
want to
remember.
have
Did
to
you win it?
Put it down. How many spots did I lose from that?
I have no idea.
1.
I wasn't here for that event, so
It was, well, the earlier Barber race was a disaster. This season was a disaster. Last season, you guys keep giving me flack for that, and I lost 1 spot. So I'm gonna have to do a little correction on calling me out. If you want to call me out for Indy Road Course last year. That was the one that I threw away.
Yes. As far as it goes, of course, Sonoma, you can wrap up the championship. Do you like Wayne County? Do you like Sonoma? Can you get the championship there?
Well, I grew up in Vallejo, so you know it's kind of a home track, home away from home now. But definitely, I definitely enjoy the track. It's one of the more challenging tracks. It's you can't really, you don't see a whole lot of side-by-side racing there because of the nature of the track. It's you know, we're not hitting really high top speeds. It's really challenging to get the bumps and the elevation changes. But you know, it's fun when you get in the groove. You get a good car that's going under you. So yeah, I really like the place, particularly when you know, when we're starting at the front.
Well, of course, you've been running in the 16th Street Racing League since 2010. You've never had the opportunity to be this close to a championship with 2 rounds to go. How does it feel to be in this position?
Oh, it feels great. I mean, the team's done really well. Glad we could get the road car up front most of the season. I've done 16th Street Leagues several years. Haven't ever won the championship. Came close a couple times, but looks like hopefully this year will be our year, and it'll be good to put this one in there along with the Indy 500 wins that we got this year as well.
Tim Holgate coming home in the second place here today. Lichtenberg coming home third, one position back. And Aaron Likens is stood by with him.
Brandon Lichtenberg, last run of the podium. First question, did you have anything for Holgate here today to get second?
I certainly tried. Honestly, I kind of just threw it in there in turn 3 at one point and hoped it'd stick, and turn 1 as well. And I was just drifting up, so I had to lift. I had to finish 2. Maybe. I also kind of got boned with a lap car on the inside line when I was coming to pit, and so there's a loss of crap load of time there, and that was kind of it. Just had to bring it home for third.
And yeah, we did see you run side by side there and try to make the pass. Was passing on the inside later in the run difficult with the worn tires? Because we know cars on the outside had a much better run on the exit. So did you really have to time those passes perfectly to complete them?
Yeah, you really did. You couldn't really just get alongside them halfway down the straightaway. You needed like a wheel or your front wing within their rear wheel to have any kind of chance of going for a pass.
And strategy-wise, looking back, finish third, would you have anything different strategy-wise to potentially get second or the win, or was about third place what you were going to get strategy-wise?
No, I wouldn't have changed anything. I'm happy with third place. Championship was honestly over at Pocono, but we're still fighting for P2. We got Eric and Christopher Demerit and a lot of other guys still battling out for P2, so battle for P2 is probably the one to watch for. It's nowhere close near over for that yet.
And speaking of that battle, it will also rage on next week at Sonoma. What's your opinions of that track? Looking forward to it?
Sure. Yeah, I guess. Not really. Sonoma's okay. I haven't really run there a whole lot, so I'll have to get practicing this week.
That's Brandon Lichtenberg. Looks like he will be turning many a practice lap as the championship still not locked up in question, but the battle for P2 will be intense.
Well, yeah, as you see, Brendan Lichtenberg there coming home in the third place in today's event. Brandon Choice, well, he's had himself an interesting day. On a different strategy, he stood by with Rachel Whiteford.
Yeah, I'm here with Brandon Trost. Brandon, you came home today somewhat out of position, 4th place. You were leading for quite a portion of this race. Of course, you made the pass in the first pit cycle of the green flag, taking the lead there from those guys. Tell me about the fuel saga.
Well, basically, I do all the strategy for myself during the race, and I miscalculated this race. And Pavelski pitted, so I figured if he's pitting, maybe I can pit. And I guess he had damage. I was not aware of that, so I got messed up on that.
Well, that is absolutely unfortunate for you in today's race. How do you think you can perform next week at Sonoma?
Don't plan on running Sonoma.
Well, there you go, Will. He's been here at Milwaukee. He came home 4th, last car on the lead lap with a splash and dash at the end. Won't be running Sonoma. Over to you.
Yep, and finally we are... Nope, we're not, because we've done everyone. Have we done everyone? Yes, we have. No, we haven't. Yes, we have. Who knows? Well, there we are, ladies and gentlemen. There we are. The 2 rounds of the championship left to go, Aaron. And, well, Lichtenberg, it's a tall order. He is technically still within it. And we know the 16 Street Racing League, we saw it last year, Joshua Chin had himself some crazy life issues, shall we say, in the last 2 rounds of the championship, as he could have gone for the championship. Now, there's a chance that Lichtenberg, in theory, could still fight to get himself that crown. But, realistically, this is Holgate's title to lose.
Absolutely, and you mentioned last season. The last 4 races last year, it was almost like nobody wanted to win that championship. So many unforced errors, which having a little bit of a point cushion might minimize that risk, but until you've clinched, until you are called 16th Street Champion, things can still happen. It could be clinched next week. Then again, we could go to the double point race at Auto Club, which anything can happen there. But before we get there, we stay in California, but the very tricky, windy, and hilly Sonoma is going to have a say in who becomes our champion.
Yep, just want to give a shout out as well to that driver of Matt Polelski. Recently pulled off family issues. We hope everything is going okay in that one. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our webcast of the 16th Street Racing League and concludes birthday week here on RaceSpotTV as well, as it was Christopher Merritt in the 144 car claiming victory here today. We've had ourselves many different winners over the last month in the 16th Street Racing League, but we head ourselves to Wine County, Sonoma. 2 more rounds of the championship to go. This has been a RaceSpotTV presentation of the 16th Street Racing League from the historic Milwaukee Mile. Myself, Will Vincent, from Aaron Likington, Rachel Wyford. We shall talk to you all next time. Good night.